What up, mixers? Welcome to MYXclusives. I'm DJ Marlino. I'm your host. And today, my special guest was born and raised in my hometown, the Bay Area, San Francisco to be exact. We first got a glimpse of him on season 18 of American Idol, where he finished top 10. He's also a self-taught musician who mastered drums, guitar, piano, and several other instruments. He's put out several hits like Swollen, If You Need Me, which cumulated to over 8 million streams on all digital streaming platforms. He's put out a couple of EPs, Beautiful Ramblings of a Restless Mind and Manic. He's relocated to the LA area to pursue music full time. He just came back from a coast to coast tour. Man, that's a lot. And today we're here to talk to him about his brand new single, Passenger Princess. Mixers, help me welcome Francisco Martin.
Hey guys, what's up? What's up? Hey Marlino.
How are you, brother? Long time no see.
I know, long time no see. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. You know, it was kind of cool. We finally got to hang out in Las Vegas. Then came the Mix and LA Kings Filipino Heritage Night, where we got to see you and hang out there. And then now you're back here with new music. So I got to ask you, man, what is the one word that describes how you're feeling right now?
Grateful. Always. You know, like, I think that's what keeps me kind of going. It's just like all the people that I have around, my team, my fans that support me always with each release, especially this one, and just kind of like the overall arcing kind of people that I have around me. I'm super grateful. You know, it's not just about the music, because without the people around me, the music wouldn't be as great and it wouldn't be as like fun to release, you know?
Yeah, and you're a fun dude to hang out with. You know, we had a really good time hanging out with you for the past couple of months that we've had a chance to see you. And so, what I want to do today is, you know, we're gonna talk about the brand new single. We'll talk about that a little bit later on the show. But I want to get our mixers a little bit more information about you. I want them to kind of get to know you just a little bit better. So, you know, I want to start off with, I know American Idol was kind of the one place where people really got to see you, got to really hear you sing, even though it wasn't your originals, but they got a taste of what Francisco Martin could be like. So for someone who may not know of you or who you are, like, how do you describe yourself to someone, especially, you know, for someone that you would meet for the first time?
I guess like I would describe myself as somebody with like I would say like a sponge, because like I've been told I'm like a sponge. I like to learn everything, especially on the music side. So I like to like kind of dip my fingers in everything, on all the creatives, like making music, making assets, making artwork. I like to be a part of everything behind the scenes, you know? So all the music that I have out, I primarily play all my instruments and produce all of them. And it's always been that way ever since I was a little kid. I started producing when I was 13 years old in high school as a freshman. Yeah, and my dad is the one who got me on music in the first place. I started playing drums when I was probably around like 7 or 8 years old, because my dad heard me banging it upstairs while he was rehearsing with his garage band on the weekends. So that's how it all started. And ever since then, like, I picked up singing and playing drums and guitar and piano. I just wanted to keep learning and keep striving to kind of like get to a place where I can produce a song, whether it be my song or somebody else's. So that's kind of where I'm at, and like where I want people to kind of like focus on, because a lot of the creative does lie inside here, but also with the people I work with. And that's mainly the approach I take with just creative.
And see, for someone like you, I call that person like a quadfecta, because you can sing, you can write and produce, you can play instruments, and then you're like the total package. You know what I mean? So looking back at, you know, when you started playing instruments and things like that, when did you know that you could actually play? Like, I mean, there had to have been a moment where you kind of figured out like, oh, geez, I can actually play all these instruments like effortlessly, or I can play to you know, whatever comes on YouTube or whatnot. So what was that moment like for you? And I mean, you know, as far back as you can obviously remember, but when did it click to you, like, I can actually play all these instruments, you know, just by myself?
I guess when I first after, I guess it was after American Idol. I guess there's two moments. There was one time where I was in drumming school and I was like just a week, just like really, I was a little kid. I was like 10, 11 years old. And my music teacher was trying to give me notes to play, and I was reading them, and I can read music, but like I was more so fascinated by the song itself and hearing the song and like feeling it. And that was the first time where like I realized that like I wanted to just learn from my ear, and everything I heard, like I wanted to just replicate instead of just like kind of reading it on paper technically. And like, even though there's so many benefits to that, there's also many benefits to having like a widow ear, you know? So that's kind of where I first had my musical experience of like, I wanted to just learn by ear and just feel it out. Feel was a whole thing for me, especially with music, you know? I wanted, if I was feeling sad, I wanted to project that through music. I didn't want to project that through paper, you know?
Yeah.
So that was the first time. And the second time was when I was kind of still figuring it out, and I was trying to get signed and still make demos and all that. And I had all these demos that I self-produced, but I had this thing in my head where I was thinking that like if I take it to a real studio and have real session musicians play on top of it, then it'd be a real record per se, you know? And that was just my thinking, and that was like me trying to like figure it all out still. And when I did do that, and I had session musicians come over and play for my song, it wasn't the same. It didn't feel the same. It didn't sound the same. And I just kind of realized that like I just gotta trust myself and trust my vision and trust the way I play, because like that's the only kind of recipe to kind of where I consider myself kind of perfectionist. I've always been a kind of perfectionist and kind of just like hearing things a certain way. And that's when I kind of realized that I needed to trust more of my artist vision and my just overall arcing, just playing, because having other people play, I thought that was going to help, you know, but it didn't. It actually just made it sound totally different from what I was hearing it.
Mm-hmm. And I think you brought up an interesting point there about like you hear things a little bit differently. So I want to tap into your brain a little bit. Describe the sounds that you do hear. Like, what is that like for you? Like, you know, when you're hearing drums, what does the drum sound like for you? When you're hearing piano, what does a melodic sound, you know, for you? So kind of take us through that. Like, what is that sound? How do you describe that sound that's in your head right now?
For me, especially for like when I'm producing for my own stuff, I always like to start off with drums, because drums are the basis, the foundation, and that actually kind of goes into play with bass. Because when I was playing live every weekend with my tribute bands, growing up in the Bay Area, like it was me and the bass player always like going at it. It was a together thing. So that's kind of where I kind of see, because everything when I produce, I want it to be kind of like one section here, then one section afterwards, and then the melody. But then the melody always kind of comes into play after everything has been kind of produced out. And when I hear melodies, I kind of it's kind of natural in my head. I think it has something to do with when I grew up listening to my dad's favorite bands and my mom's favorite singer-songwriters. I just was constantly hearing like singers and like singing all the time. And I think I just gravitated towards a lot of like the catchy melodies I was hearing, and just the melodies in general that struck me, that are very stark to me. So I kind of like to incorporate that in my own music. And I don't know, when I'm like, I can usually just hear a song just in my head and bring it to fruition on a computer when I produce it. And that's kind of just always been natural. I mean, I've always been doing that ever since I was a kid. I've always heard like things that weren't supposed to be in a song, but then like kind of still felt good, you know, it was technically not right, but felt good. And that's kind of where I'm at. I know I've always been that kind of way as a creative, especially with other people, you know, because I think it brings a different kind of perspective to the table.
So what's better, structure or free flowing?
Free flowing, I feel like there's always supposed to be a little bit of a structure, right? But I feel like free flowing in a session and in music, I just feels so much better to the listener and just to the person producing it. I feel like all these rules that kind of get placed on to a song kind of remove like the fun aspect like the creative aspect of it, even though the structure matters and stuff like that. And I still try my best to like have structure, but free flowing and like just being yourself and just feeling the way you're feeling when you're writing a song or producing a song really matters. It all matters, but the energy you bring in, you know? So.
Yeah. All right, and this might be one of the toughest questions I'm going to ask you today. So, what is the most, I guess, hardest? Well, I don't say hardest, but what is the thing that you love doing the most? Is it writing, producing, playing, or performing? You can only pick one.
Only pick one. Damn. I guess I like performing live. Performing live is my favorite. I connect so much more than I do when I'm like writing or producing, because usually when I'm writing producing, I'm like either by myself or just with a couple other people, and it's like this bubble that we're all sharing. And like, but when I'm performing live in front of, you know, bigger groups of people, we could all kind of feel it together. Like, it's kind of, music is a weird thing where you could feel the energy kind of shifting in a song. If it's upbeat, then you'll feel it and you'll want to dance. But if it's like slow and like emotional, you'll feel that as well. And it's just the fans that I've met over the past tours that I've done, and the performances that I've done. Like, it inspires me that I inspire them when they listen to my music or hear me live. And a lot of them get really surprised when they see me live, because they've never seen me live before, but they've never seen me live at that level of when I have a full band and me playing drums and all these other instruments. They just don't know that I do that. And it's just kind of fun to kind of tap into that world, especially when it's music that I've created for my own kind of space, translated into the stage, you know? So that always brings me happiness and always gives me like this certain type of high for the rest of the week or the rest of the month.
Yeah. And I think you kind of talked a little bit about this, like inspiration, from music, right? You talked about performing, doing tribute type bands and things like that. Who would you say were some of the influences that you had growing up? Like what type of music kind of inspires or shapes the type of music that you like to create?
Yeah. A lot of it had to do with like the stuff we were in an 80s tribute band. So like I was hearing a lot of like cool guitar melodies and like cool just vocal melodies. I was doing that for like a while. I was just like playing a bunch of 80s songs, and a lot of it had to do with my dad picking them, and like because my dad like has really good music taste, and he was always playing even before the 80s, like 70s rock bands like Pink Floyd, Air Supply, the Eagles. It was like very melodic, weird, like even like with Pink Floyd with their like very weird melodic songs, you know? And that kind of shaped, I guess, like everything for me, because I just hear melodies on top of everything, and like it definitely does help me too when I'm like stuck or something like that, or a person is stuck writing, you know? That also helps me as well.
Now, if you could co-headline with any artists in the world that are alive, who would be the two artists that you would co-headline with for an exclusive Francisco Martin show with these two headliners? Who would those be?
Like two headliners?
Yep. Along with yourself.
I mean, I love John Mayer. So like I always have ever since I was a kid. Even not even like his biggest songs. Like I would like go into my favorite John Mayer album is Battle Studies, and I've still come back to him and listen to his music because it inspires me, and he's kind of like one of my idols in the way he kind of like looks at music, and like the music he releases is always inspiring to me. So definitely him. And I guess like definitely if we're talking about another person, I guess like either like Maggie Rogers, because she's like the reason why I even started writing in the first place. When I heard her song Alaska, which I did perform on the show, that's when I realized I wanted to like write songs, because the lyrics in that song like really resonated to me when at a time where I was really anxious and really depressed, and I was like lost and I didn't know what. I remember the lyric is, I walked off you and I walked off an old me, and that like made me just fall in love with the whole entire process of songwriting, because realizing that like that one line just like helped me like emotionally, like it can help other people and help me in general. Like it's therapeutic for me to write, cathartic. And so yeah, those two artists for sure.
Now, coming from the Bay Area, the Bay Area has a music genre of its own. They're very known for being eclectic in their own styles. Has that shaped the way that you kind of do your music as well? And then, moving to LA. LA is a different beast. LA is kind of like the heart where everything is at. Maybe talk about that a little bit, how moving from the Bay Area to LA has influenced you as an artist.
Yeah. I guess when I was in San Francisco, like, being born and raised, like there's a whole hyphy music movement with like hip hop being kind of like the main forefront, and we have like dope artists that come out of the Bay Area like Kehlani, G-Eazy, all those people. Like I used to listen to all those people, and like the thing about me is like I was saying earlier, I'm like a sponge. So I listen to all types of music, every type of music. It could be anything. I'm not biased at all. Like I can find influences in anything I listen to, honestly. So yeah, the hip hop music and R&B music is definitely like an underlying kind of culprit behind my music too. Aside from just making acoustic music. And when I moved to LA, I was hearing all these different types of music, like hyper pop and pop music and all that stuff, and just like it all kind of intertwined. Also, when I lived in Vegas for a little bit too, for 8 months during the pandemic, I was hearing a lot of house music. So I get kind of all these little these little tastes of everything. But I think when it all kind of comes down to my music, I'm like very much so a chameleon. And that's why I'm like a sponge, because I listen to all types of music, but I get inspired by listening. If I hear something new and brand new in my ears, I get really inspired, and I want to translate that on my music. So my music, when I think of Francisco Martin and the music that I'm making, and just I think of it more as like a umbrella of things, not just one singular genre of music. Like it's really just what I'm feeling in the moment and what I want to create in that moment. And I'm pulling these inspirations from all these different types of music that I'm listening to at the moment. So that's why I say I'm a chameleon when it comes to making music and listening to music, because I can just really listen to anything and kind of just gravitate inspiration from that.
And I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, like when I listen to your music, like I can sense and even feel that emotional, eclectic, abstract side of you. So maybe this is a good transition to, walk me through, what is it like to be with you in a studio? Like, how do you get started? Yeah.
So we usually I usually like to talk to the person a lot more. Like I feel like in the moment, like when I do have sessions and I'm meeting them for the first time, it's like this weird kind of awkward little thing you have to get over, break the ice kind of vibe. So like, because it's like you don't want to just go in and just like meet the person, and then 5 seconds later you're trying to make a record and writing. It's like writing is a very like vulnerable thing, and I realize that every single time I have the time to think about it. When you're writing about something in a session, you're not really thinking about how vulnerable you're being, and you're wearing your heart on your sleeve, and like every artist is, and so that's why I try to get to know the person a little bit more. We talk, maybe have a cup of coffee, go for a walk before we even like do anything musical, and then I kind of just go in and ask them about their musical inspirations, and like, because like if we're writing for somebody else, like that's not me, then I like to do that. But if they're writing for me, then I kind of like to tell them of my background and what I'm listening to at the moment, and what I'm inspired by at the moment. And when we get there, like I like to kind of start off like with a beat, because I like to listen to the artist, or like I like to listen to artists before they even come in and hear their music before, and like kind of like create like little type beats of like what I think they would sound good on, or like ideas. I always come in with ideas. There's always never-ending ideas in my brain, especially when I'm writing for me and other people. There's like sometimes too many ideas, and too many ideas that kind of like just have different lanes. So it's just like kind of picking the right thing, And it's all about having a conversation. It's all about having a conversation. It really is like a therapy session when you're writing with somebody, because you're asking them like, hey, what's going on in your life? And like, what do you want to write about? And what connects with you right now? And like for the most part, like if you're telling the truth, like writing is very therapeutic for them, and having somebody help them and talk with them is very helpful for them as well. Because that kind of like dictates a good song or not. And yeah, we always have fun producing. Like we usually like I usually make the demo like the day of, and like we just kind of experiment with different instruments here in the studio that I'm in my living room. This is where we kind of like produce everything out and stuff. And then we have like little walks. It's not music all the time. We have walks, we have talks, laughs, and like sometimes we'll just share like stuff that we're kind of interested in that isn't music related, you know, because you have to have a balance, you know. It's like a balance of getting to know the person and like vibing with the person and making great music.
Now, is this the same process that you do for your own music as well? Like how you would do it for someone else? Do you kind of go through that same process? You start off with a beat and then you kind of start adding different layers to it?
No, mine's a little bit more different. I feel like mine kind of comes spontaneous. It's kind of based on spontaneity. I have like I've kind of developed something where it's like kind of like taking an idea of something and I'm just hearing like a melody or guitar chords, and then like hearing it kind of in its entirety, and then kind of putting it into fruition with the song on the computer or on a recording. And it's been kind of like nice to have that, because usually I would sit in and I'd be like, all right, what am I going to write about today? But I realized that like doing that for me, it just doesn't work as often anymore, because like it feels very like forced. It feels like I have to sit down and write something. Like I don't have to sit down and write something. I just need to I really just want to feel a song. And I have songs like that where like I will be in the shower and I'll be like just literally taking a shower, and like I hear the whole entire song in my head. I hear a guitar solo. I hear that there should be 2 verses, and I hear this is what the lyrics should be. And it's all just kind of just everywhere. But like it's not a cohesive idea yet, but I know where everything's supposed to be. So then I like run to my rig, and then I like start producing everything, because like I hear it, and once I hear something, like I have to get it out. I have to get it out, because if I don't, then if I don't, it's like this kind of like weird urgency thing, you know? It's a lot of urgency and a lot of spontaneity when it comes to my music, but that I feel like is where the magic is. It's like kind of like 6 hours go by, you didn't even realize 6 hours went by, and you have a whole song already that what didn't existed 6 hours ago. Like
you said, you hear chords in your head. Do they usually come out as harmony, or do they come out as dissonance?
They usually come out as like harmony, I feel like, because I feel like when I'm hearing, I mean, it can go both ways, because if I'm hearing something, it's usually like it's usually the melody of me singing. Yeah. So like I'm hearing a melody of me singing, I'm hearing it all, and then I'm hearing the chords underlying, but you know, and then I like kind of like layer by layer go from the chords to the guitar, like, okay, this should go from like the G to the F, you know, and then like kind of like that's what I'm hearing when I'm singing it in my head. And then under all that, I'm hearing like the drum parts and like what we could add, and the overall vibe. Like, should it be like a Motown feel? Should it be like a neo soul feel? Should it be like a, you know? And it's like it could be, and the possibilities are kind of endless. It could be anything, which is why I don't really cling to just one genre. And a lot of the people, I hope will understand that soon enough, that like I'm not just a singular thing. I want to do a lot of things, because like it's just what drives me. It's what inspires me. If I'm making the same music all the time, I can't really. I wouldn't love that, and I don't think other fans would love that. You know, I want to hear something new all the time, because I am a singer, and like I do love to sing all types of things, and you know, like whether it be like R&B, rock, singer-songwriter music, like I like to be kind of versatile, and some people may think that's very like kind of sporadic and very all over the place, and maybe it is, but this is just the way I perceive music and want my music to kind of flow. You know, I'm not very, I say I'm a perfectionist, but I'm not very, what's the word? I'm not very precious with a lot of the things I release, because, you know, like 2 years later, I have a like Swollen, Wild Girl. Like I still love those songs, but 2 years ago I was feeling a different way, and I was like feeling a certain feeling that captivated. It's like a time capsule. So that's why I never really regret, or kind of like, even with Manic, like I was feeling very angsty, feeling very anxious all the time, and going through a lot of mental health struggles, and honestly very angry. So that's why it's very like, it was very like upbeat and just very loud, because that's what I was hearing in my brain. So it's all these things just kind of like, this music, yes, but it's stuff that like that kind of relates and translates from my brain to audio form.
And I can relate to that too, because as a DJ, right? Like some DJs have specific genres that they do. I like to typically play a lot of house music in addition to like hip hop and R&B stuff. But when I play house, I don't play just EDM. I don't play just jack-in, or I don't play just tech. I like to kind of spread it around, because like you, I like that diversity in the feeling that you convey when you play the music. So I can totally relate to what you're talking about. Now, I do have a question, a follow-up one here, because you talked about your process and things like that. I know there's a lot of songwriters and musicians watching and listening right now. How do you get over writer's block? When you kind of get stuck in writing a song, what do you do to kind of overcome that?
Honestly, I just listen to a lot of music that, like, if I have like John Mayer, I brought him up. Like, if I haven't like written something and I can't write something in the moment because I'm just very much like not like in the mood or have writer's block, it's either I do one or two things. I usually like to go to my favorite artists who I haven't listened to in a while and just kind of listen to them and like grab inspiration from their writing, because like it all kind of starts, like, music is very derivative. It's always has been. And like it's okay to kind of like steal and like kind of like take away from stuff that they've written. And the second thing that I do is like I usually like to just like live, like experience new things, experience people, talk to people, and like just live life. Because a lot of the times, like, if you're having writer's block, you just don't have anything to write about, right? But if you live and you kind of like experience new experiences, like I think soon enough you'll find that inspiration again to write about, whether like a breakup or like a friendship that you've made, or like an experience that you may have had, and like that. For me, a lot of the times I like to travel too, because like I like to take like my brain away from like the LA scene, just kind of like reset, and kind of like, and that usually helps me, like going on trips or even hiking if you can't go travel, like hiking and like going for walks, like really kind of reset my brain.
So we had a chance to hear about your process, and now just kind of accumulated into the 2 EPs that you had out. The first one being Beautiful Ramblings of a Restless Mind, which came out in 2021. And then last year you put out that 6-song EP, Manic. What were you feeling during those time periods? Like, what was it that you wanted your listeners to, and your fans to, know about you during this time?
The first EP, like, obviously it was during the pandemic. So everybody was like it was everything was up in the air. Like loneliness was a big part of Beautiful Ramblings. I did everything myself, like in my own. I just moved to LA, didn't have much friends. My apartment was very bare. Like it was just very it was just a lonely period. And I feel like everybody was feeling that way during the pandemic. So that's the reason why the recordings are very stripped down and very like just kind of, in a sense, like it was very gritty and stripped down, because like I was listening to a lot of like Bon Iver at the time, and just kind of James Bay, and just kind of like clinging to that kind of feeling, because that's what I was feeling. It just everything felt lonely. Life felt a little bit more lonely, and taking that into account, I translated that into the music, and that's why it's like I call it time capsules. And for Manic, it was a totally different story, because I was like, that's when I started making a lot more friends in LA, but then also like started to feel a lot more of like the growing pains of just being a 20-year-old, and like kind of figuring stuff out and not really understanding much, which kind of then turned into angst and anger. Mostly I became like a very angry guy, like all the time. And I think that kind of like turned the music very, I remember I wasn't even trying to make a rock EP, like a rock alternative EP, but I remember playing it and hearing all those producing out those loud sounds, like really helped me in my brain, because it was very therapeutic. Like it felt like, and I couldn't like I wasn't playing live shows, touring at the time too. So it was just very much so like I just needed that. I needed that that angst. I needed that live feel. I needed that alternative feel. You know, so that's kind of what I was going through my brain too, because I was also like just like figuring myself out as a person, doing things that I haven't done before, and like just kind of going through life, but also like not really knowing, and kind of just doing, you know. And that's kind of how that EP kind of came about. It was a very different approach, especially from the first EP, because the first EP was very like more quieter and more like softer. But then the second EP kind of goes a little bit more loud. But it's a little bit more of like my life. It's kind of just how it kind of ebbs and flows and stuff. And I could have just made like a different, like the same Beautiful Ramblings Part 2, but I just really wanted, like I said, I really wanted to just have like whatever I feel in that moment to be exactly that. And it's always going to be that way, even for the next music and the next project and all that stuff.
Now, is there a music genre that you want to explore that you haven't explored yet? And if so, what would that be for you?
I really like rap. Rap is cool, you know, but I'm not a rapper. I love like the flows and like the because my homies put me on like a lot of like different rappers, a lot of underground rappers and stuff. And I love rap, obviously, in general, growing up from the Bay Area. I just never really I never really thought that I could be like that guy. But like if there is a time, like one day, I would do something like that, you know, because I do have some demos of me kind of doing like a singy rappy thing. So I'm like really into like artists like Dominic Fike and like Kendrick and like all those people, you know.
All right, you and I, we're gonna try something. I'm gonna we'll talk about this afterwards, but maybe I'll get you to do some like guitar riffs and some bass lines. I'll flip a beat, I'll send it to you, and then maybe we'll do something weird.
Yeah, let's do it.
We'll try something out. So I want to transition to just being Filipino just for a little bit, right? Have you ever done a Filipino or even like a Taglish type of song?
Yes, I have. I used to. You mean like recording or like
just, like a recorded track or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean like I remember when I was doing those tribute bands, I would write. Like I had one song that my mom helped me write in Tagalog, and it was because around the time when like I was playing like those, because I wouldn't just play the 80s song. I would have to play like all different types of songs, like Tagalog songs. Like I had to play the AG songs, and I would have to play like Buwan, you know, for example. And most of the time, I didn't understand what was like completely the language of what they were singing, but I understood like the concepts and the meanings, and that's why like I just kind of learned to kind of just like kind of mimic the singing. So yeah, I would do those covers, but also like I got inspired because I get inspired by music that I listen to, you know, at that moment. I asked my mom, can you help me like write like a Tagalog song, and like I wanted to produce it out, and she helped me like write it word for word and stuff. And that was about like 5 years ago now. But wow. I do have like a demo of like of me like singing like a Tagalog song. I think it was called Bakit Ba. So,
dude, you got to share that with us too, because I think that would be something cool. Or you know what? Take that.
I would have to listen to it again. Because I don't know how it sounds. That was 5 years ago, so my voice sounds totally different. And probably like me singing in Tagalog wasn't completely clear and crisp like as like you know. But I can pull it up from the archives.
Dude, that would be if not a recording, that would be dope. We have to get you like a show either in the Philippines or something out here, and then that's gonna be my challenge to you. I always challenge artists like this: do like a Taglish type of song, either live or recorded in your own style, and just kind of run with it and see what that would look like. So that's my challenge for you for next time I see you.
Okay, I accept your challenge, and I've never actually like done a Taglish song. I think ever. I mean, like even like playing live, like I was always like either strictly English or just strictly Tagalog. So that because I know that they're different, right? It's like different meanings for each word and stuff. So it's like like I definitely want to do something like that though in the future for sure.
That'll be dope. I'm looking forward to that. So speaking of Filipinos, Filipinos are finally starting to get more recognition in the music industry. You're seeing her, who's originally from the Bay Area as well, Olivia Rodrigo, who's
Yeah.
on my side of the town, and then now Steve Lacy, who just won, a Grammy. So for
Yeah.
you, what does it mean now to be an artist of Filipino descent today?
I think today it's more important than ever because I feel like a lot of people, you said it, like a lot of eyes now are like, and a lot of people are noticing that the talent that us Filipinos have, it's immensely big, and that's huge for all of us. That's huge for somebody like me too, who's full Filipino and a musician who wants to follow their dreams and do exactly that too. And there's people who look like us who are doing exactly that, and you watch them on TV and like you can't help but smile. Because you you see yourself through that, and you feel the pride, you feel the excitement and the joy, and like I'm glad that we're all getting that even like artists like her and Olivia and Steve Lacy. I love Steve Lacy. Are all getting a recognition, especially on the bigger stages and like the bigger programs and stuff, and winning these great awards. Because like that's. Like if you think about like 15 years ago, 10 years ago, that wasn't a thing. And like, I remember growing up, I was always looking up to people who weren't Filipino, like John Mayer. And like I remember thinking too, like, I guess it's just like, that's just normal, right? You don't really look up to people. Like I couldn't find anybody who looked like me, but like wanting to make the music that was making the music that I was making and making the moves that John Mayer was making or doing, or somebody else was making. And now in this day and age, like, there's people out there who are like that, and even more so, the people who are like still grinding it out as producers and songwriters and artists. And there's like even more than that. It's so eclectic, and that is just a whole inspiring thing. Even one of my messages to my fans is that I want them to like, when they see me live and they see me perform and hear my music online or like on streaming services, that I want them to feel the same way, to feel inspired, to feel like they can do it too. You're not succumb to what your parents want you to do. If you want to do music, you have a passion, or it could be like, I don't know, carpenting. If you want to do carpenting, or like you want to do anything other than music, or you want to do music, like you can do it, and it's follow your dreams and just keep doing it, keep going.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm doing, and like I always think about it. I wouldn't be doing anything else, and it's just great that we're all getting recognition.
And I think that's my hope for you as well, is like the journey that you're on. Like one day I would love to see you accept a Grammy on stage, give us a couple shout outs if you want,
Of course.
But that's the goal, man, is to eventually see you on stage accepting a Grammy. So I'm wishing you some good luck here and hoping, this music journey at least gets you there. And if it's not, I mean, like, I just hope you just keep continuing to put out some dope music. And so that's really the big wish, is just keep it going. You know what I mean? So now let's talk about the new stuff. So you brought a new track to us here on Mix. It is called Passenger Princess, and this is described as a vibrant lullaby for the long distance driver. This song shows a more sensitive, softer side to your music, where I'm going to quote this here: "Pleasure and happiness as the highest good is your crush's feet on your dashboard."
Wow.
Explain.
Yeah, so it was actually around the time I got a car out here in LA, and I just started like driving around, and I was like, because I've been here for 3 years now, but the first 2 years I just didn't have a car, so I never really like wanted to write anything about like driving or like anything like that, because I just never really drove. And once I got my car out here driving around LA, I realized how big LA just really was. Yeah. And like, like it's not just my bubble that I was around and surrounded in. And like I had this idea because I was on TikTok, I think, and it had there was just like this hashtag called Passenger Princess, and I've heard that name before. Then I looked it up, and I was like, all right, a passenger princess is like a girl or a guy, or I guess passenger prince you'd say, who just kind of their only job is to be on the passenger seat, and then you just drive them around and stuff like that. And I thought that idea was dope, and I only had the title. And I remember like I had the title, so I walked into in a session with my friend, and I started playing these guitar chords and this is before it was even Passenger Princess. I started playing the guitar chords, and I was like, all right, Passenger Princess, because I wanted to end it with Passenger Princess, and I wanted the song to be called that. So, in the basis of that, like I was like, all right, well, Princess royalty. So I started like kind of like intertwining those topics together. That's why the first verse just talks about her grace and like in her castle and stuff. Actually, it's kind of weird. I think that was around the time that like the Queen of England passed away. So
Oh, wow.
I was like, yeah. So I was like kind of inspired by that to like write about that. That's why I opened up with that kind of verse. And yeah, I wrote it in like 15 minutes, and it's all about like being kind of in that moment of like when you're in love with somebody, you know, and like you're feeling all the feels of joy, and just overall like excitement from the moment, you know. And it doesn't necessarily have to be just like you driving around with somebody. They could be driving you, or like you could be having like a nice day at the beach, or a nice day in general with this person. And that's kind of where I wanted to lead in. I wanted it to have like kind of a beach kind of feel to it. A beach soul is what I like to call it. And I wanted it to be vibrant. I wanted it to be all happy, which is why I actually was open to adding horns for the first time. I added horns on the song, and that's gonna be a kind of like underlying instrument in the next few songs too. And I'm just like very excited to have all these different new kind of instruments on songs, like horns. I've never had horns on a song before, so that in itself is fun.
Now, why is this considered a more softer side to your music? What did you do differently on this song that you hadn't done before?
Well, I did a lot more falsetto this time. I think I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to go more into the soul kind of aspect of my voice, and because I love soul music, you know.
Yeah.
I listen to stuff like, there's so many, like Chris Mayfield and like Aretha Franklin and like all those people, like Nina Simone, even though she's a little bit more jazz. Like I love hearing that, and I was in a time of like wanting to kind of pivot my voice differently, and I wanted to utilize it as an instrument more. So that's where I kind of wanted to practice more of the falsetto side of things, and I started just naturally writing songs in falsetto, and I guess that's why I came across very more soft and subtle, because I don't want it to be overpowering with the rest of the instruments and the rest of the song. I want it to be with the song. So I had different versions of it, like me belting and me kind of doing all falsetto and me doing half and half, until I got to a certain place where like, this is great. I kind of want it, like this is the perfect balance of where I needed it to be. So I guess it's the biggest thing of why it sounds soft, because like I utilize falsetto a lot more.
And now you could have put out any other song, but today you put out this one. So why this song, and then why now?
Honestly, the energy. It was energy that everyone was getting from all the people that were listening to it. I played it on tour, my last tour that I was just on, and the feedback was amazing. Everybody was asking what song that was, because it wasn't out yet, and I had just written it and I was just playing it. So naturally, people were just inclined to like wanting to listen to it and dance to it. And like I remember like the good feedback I was getting back then. And when I had like a recording of it and I sent it to my team, they were really excited about it and they couldn't stop talking about it. So that's kind of where everything kind of fell into place of like, all right, this could potentially be a next single. And like I was trying to look for a new kind of inspiration to shape my sound and stuff. And that record, Passenger Princess, was that, because ever since I made that track, I was making songs, like multiple songs that sounded in that same realm. So that song for sure kind of sparked this new kind of era, if you so to speak, of me and my music.
I was just going to ask you that. Is this a foreshadow of what's coming, with your music? And if so, what can we expect? Like what is that vibe that you have coming for us?
yeah, that's definitely a foreshadow of like Passenger Princess is definitely a foreshadow of the rest of the music that I'm coming out with. You can definitely expect a lot more like acoustic instruments and a lot more of vocal, like cool vocal like effects and stuff, and like horns, like I said, like horn sections. We got a bunch of those, and definitely like overall like just vibe, like because like I want to take I want to take the beach and like soul music and like kind of like map it together and stuff, and just like the things I'm writing about too are different, like they're a little bit more sincere. Like I have a song that that's potentially coming out after Passenger Princess called Evil Eye, which is about generational trauma and my experiences growing up, with my parents and my family, and just like who I am now today as an adult, so stuff like that. And then you have the typical heartbreak songs that like that are on the list as well, but yeah, a lot, like I definitely expect a lot more musicality too, because that's going to be big, and a lot more I guess it's going to be, I want to say it's like a mixture of the first EP and what I'm doing right now. It's like it's basically like I'm taking stuff from like my first EP and like kind of enhancing it.
So is the next project going to be another single, or is there an album in the works?
No album in the works yet, but definitely like I kind of want to do, like, knowing me, like I already have a bunch of songs that like could be already an EP, so potentially an EP again that's going to come out.
That's awesome. And you just shot the music video to Passenger Princess last week. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about that. What can we expect once that drops, and when does it drop?
March 8th or the 15th is when the music video drops. But yes, we filmed it in San Francisco, and it was like the best thing because I'm from San Francisco, and like we filmed it on the PCH by Ocean Beach, and it's basically about what the song is about, like being in a car driving around. We rented out this cool Chevy, this Monte Carlo, and it's like a little muscle car. My first time driving a muscle car, that was fun, and also very nerve-wracking.
You didn't do a sideshow, did you?
No, I didn't. I didn't do a sideshow. But I did get a lot of looks and a lot of like nods. So like I was definitely feeling myself in that car. And we have a beautiful co-star. Her name's Bella Lopez, and she's very beautiful, and she's the coolest person. And yeah, we had a blast filming it on the beach all day, having good food, good vibes, good team. And it was a beautiful day actually in Ocean Beach. It was clear as day when it's usually just like foggy and stuff. And and also we filmed at this like the next location we filmed after the beach was at this art studio. Because it's like the whole idea is me painting as an artist and like being in my own head and thinking about that day back in the beach, and it goes back and forth through scenes, and it like transitions through art. So it's like it'll like turn into like an art form and like an art style, so to speak. And it was crazy because at that art studio down the street, it was like that art studio was where I grew up in. Like it was down the street, like from my elementary, middle school, and like across the street was my barbershop where I used to go to as a kid. And then like down the street was where I went to go get drum lessons, so it was like kind of like a full circle moment where like I was filming where I was basically from, and like it was just like this whole entire thing. And we had a great team. It was directed by David Dutton. He's amazing. And yeah, we're just excited for it to come out. It's definitely something new for sure of all the music videos I've done. And it's going to be super creative and just super, super fun. So just like, yeah, if you do have the time to watch it because it's going to be dope.
And we're excited for you to drop it. So for mixers, if you guys are just tuning in, Passenger Princess by Francisco Martin. It's out now on all digital streaming platforms. So make sure you guys go buy it, download it, stream it, repeat. Do that over and over and over. You know, hook my man up here with some streams here. But make sure you get that that single on those streaming platforms, and then the music video coming out March 8th. So we got a lot of stuff to look forward to. And then before we let you go, one big surprise that we haven't told anybody about yet. We're going to spill the beans today is that Mixers, we have a big surprise for you. Francisco Martin will be doing the very first Mix Radio Takeover coming up next week. You're going to get a chance to hear his original music as well as music that inspires his journey. So make sure you go to mix.global and check out our socials for more details. So that's coming up next week with Francisco Martin. Yay!
Yeah. Amazing.
Once again, man, I'm excited that we finally had a chance to hang out and talk. Excited for the new single. Excited for the new projects you got coming up. I know we have more events and things happening that we're going to have you be a part of. And so I'm looking forward to seeing you again, man.
Likewise. Thank you, Marlino. And thank you, Mix. Appreciate you guys.